Really good.
It's nuts. All these talented people who are talented in more ways than one.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Where you're like, I bet you're just funny, and then it's like, oh, you can actually paint and
can do shit.
Yeah, skills that translate.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, so I gotta check really quick because what we're gonna do. Well, basically, we're just gonna talk for an hour about comedy clubs. Like that's it.
Okay.
But we're gonna do ratings of Heliums. So 7 being the best, 1 being the worst. Not like 1, 2, 3, 4, but they can all be 7s if that makes sense. We just gotta like,
seven's the top, one's the bottom.
So you've been to Portland. You've been to Raleigh, right?
Raleigh was good nights.
Yes, it's still a Helium club.
Okay, yeah. No, I'm fine.
You've been to Philly.
Yep.
Have you done Bananas in Jersey?
I did it before you guys had it.
Hey. St. Louis?
Yep. In fact, I got Philly and St. Louis coming up the end of the month. I want to plug those.
Oh, dope. And then Buffalo.
Mm-hmm.
And Indianapolis.
Mm-hmm. Done them all.
Cool. Sweet. So we'll run through that.
I'm gonna get my ass back into Portland.
Man, let's see. I don't even know. There has to be a word in another language where like something reminds you of somebody in a good way. But whenever I hear Parliament,
Funkadelic, baby.
I think of you off of that shit that we did on the radio where they're like, pick the 5 songs or whatever.
Yeah, she was nice. What was that DJ's name? She was sweet.
Daria. She was a great person. They like let her go.
Stupid.
I
So
mean,
what was her last name?
You could check.
All right, that's tough. But I want to see if I can get her on my show. I've been having so much fun.
Yeah, how is that podcast going?
It's great. We'll talk about it. If I could hit it, I had Leno did one for me, Kevin James, Nathan Lane, Edie Falco.
Oh shit.
Yeah, I got Joe Buck, the sportscaster. If you're a football guy.
Yeah.
You're a sports dude, right?
I mean, I follow some of it.
I had Tony Kornheiser, Michael Wilbon. Michael Wilbon one I really like. He's the guy from PTI.
Yeah, he's dope. Chicago.
Chicago dude. We were bullshitting, and it was right at the height of Breonna Taylor, and we ended up talking about half the interview about race, which I get, and we weren't planning on going there. We just ended up there, and I was like, man, I'm glad we're here because I needed to have this conversation, and I guess so did he. So that one was really cool.
When did you start doing it?
I started last year. I'm at like episode 90, 91, around there.
Yeah. You finding it, like for me, I hate talking anyway. So like doing this to me is awful. I'm just trying to talk to people as friends or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
How is it for you though? Like are you?
It's actually, I mean, do you want to talk, are we rolling on this or are we going to start? Oh, I don't know if we're going to start with an intro or something. For me, you know what it's done, Nick? It's given me a place to get that connection out. You know, I looked at it like, because I'll research my guests and I'll find something and I'll write a little intro, 3-beat intro about how you know them, what's their project, something that I know about them that maybe someone else might not. The attempt is to get them to laugh a little bit. And in doing that little intro to set the tone for the interview, it became not a performance, but it became a connection point. And performing came out of it when we make each other laugh. I mean, I laughed a bunch with Gareth Reynolds and Dave Anthony from the Dollar Podcast they were on. Laughed a lot with them. Laughed a lot with Steve Sharippa from the Sopranos. Got into a great meditation discussion with Michael Imperioli because he's a Tibetan Buddhist and didn't know we were going to go there.
You're still meditating, right?
Yeah. And I just really, and in doing what we do, I just did an episode of NCIS. So I all my scenes were with Emily Wickersham and Wilmer Valderrama. So I made Emily laugh. She made me laugh. I said, "Do you want to come on the show?" She said, great. And we had a great conversation. So it's a way. It doesn't take the place of stand up, but it does give me the satisfaction of having done something in a performance space. It's got the same kind of vibe as stand up, but it's not as intense.
Right.
But, and it's not as personal because we're doing it this way, but it does give me some sign of satisfaction. And then putting the rest of the shows together too.
Were you doing any stand up during like I guess the pandemic where things are a little spread out, less people? Were you doing shows during that?
Yeah, when it first started, I did a drive-in. Have you done the drive-ins and the outdoor shows? Okay, so I did a drive-in. I went down to San Diego's for the Boys and Girls Club.
Yeah.
They got my face on a big screen. My mole looked like a manhole cover. See this thing? I was like, what is that for? I got to get that checked. What is that on my face? I look like this. It was hi. Hi, boys and girls. This is what I'm looking at in my head, Nick. Dogs are funny.
Oh, those big screens are a bitch.
Yeah,
bitch.
I'm on stage and I got lucky because there's no clapping and laughing. If they like it, they honk their horn, they blink their lights. It's like fucking working oncoming traffic, to be honest with you. So a bunch of Top Gear fans showed up. And they took their pickups and they backed the pickups into the space. They took out lawn chairs, sat in the bed, watched the show so I could hear them laugh. So I had a timing mechanism. And it worked great.
That's perfect. Yeah, there's a couple shows here in Portland that are doing outside with drive-ins. And I just can't, I don't want to say I'm too bougie, but I'm like, I can't go see this. And I think it would crush me. Yeah,
you think like, I'll tell you, I don't know if I had the insane trepidation going into a gig, but I had some concerns going in, and I'm so glad I did it going out. So I was in Pennsylvania. They put up this big tent, Soul Joel's, that gig. They put up that big tent, and they put in space heaters. This was during the winter, space heaters, and it was a BYOB. People showed up in their winter coats. They brought their own chairs. They brought their own booze. There were space heaters under the tent. They built a little stage. I'm standing by the stage. It was down by the railroad tracks. Now, Nick, first of all, Italians don't like going to the railroad tracks because we don't think we're coming back.
Yeah, exactly.
I was like, what the fuck? I've seen this movie. But it was great. My friend Chris Roach opened for me, so we drove down together. He went on stage. I went up, and it was people overcoming shit. And I had a great time. I'm wiping my nose. It's cold. Car alarms are going off. Now I got to improv for 5 minutes while the fucking alarms are going on. Right. But the feeling of people overcoming shit, and I hung out to do the meet and greet, and people thanked me, and I thanked them. So it was a real sense of community, and that's the feeling I got. Leaving that was great. That was one of the best gigs I did. I went to Florida for this too when it hit. I got a call to open for the band Everclear in Florida.
Oh, sure.
Outdoor gig, and I said no, because the pandemic just hit and nobody knew anything. I said no. I said thank you for thinking of me. Then they called back, and Nick, apparently I have a price.
Never say no without one, man.
Never. Like, shit, man. I thought there'd be another come up in this motherfucker. There's not. So I got on a plane, masked up. They sent me a grid of the stage, and there was a parking lot behind the stage. And I said, what's that spot? That parking spot. And they said, well, I could be you. I said, give me that parking spot. So I drove from the hotel to the parking spot. The guy came over, spoke to him, cracked the window. We both wearing masks because this is early on. We didn't know anything. Right. He goes, do a sound check. I walked on stage with my mask. I went, perfect. Went back in the car, sat there for an hour. They knocked on the window. All right, Mr. Ferrara, ready for you. I walked on stage. I did an hour. I walked back off stage. I put the mask on. I drove back to the hotel. That was it. The plane was the biggest. The plane was more scary than actually doing the gig. Have you flown since all this shit happened?
I can't do it. I'd walk to New York before I flew a plane right now, man.
I will. All right, here's the positives and here's the negatives, all right? The positives is it's very civilized now because the airport's pretty empty. You know, and you call I had to call the airlines to find out, speak to a person to find out what the story was. And I said, what time is the flight? Because I'm in California. What time is the flight to New York? And they're like, say, man, what time can you be here?
Like, whenever you get here, we go.
We in, dog. So I went to the airport. People were very respectful because everyone was still worried. So there was a palpable kind of we'll get through the shit together in the air. So I enjoyed participating and experiencing that. Then you get on a plane. They don't sell the middle seats. I'm wiping everything down. I got the things. I got I'm drinking the grease. I'm doing wiping down the pilot, wiping down the security that came over to tell me to stop wiping down the pilot.
Right. No, I got do it twice. I don't know this man.
That's it. Yeah. Sat on a plane, and there was a lady in the aisle across from me coughing. Yeah, exactly. Nick, I felt bad, but she had to die. So,
get off my plane.
This is the way it ends, Grandma. Cover your mouth. Open the door. So
in the beginning, it was so no one knew anything. And we even reopened in the end of June. And the first couple of weeks, everybody was really nice and respectful. But then as people started learning, fuck it, I guess, is what they learned. You start seeing the noses out the mask.
Yeah, I don't think it's fuck it. I think it's more like, how long is this shit going to go on? It wasn't like, fuck this. This is the act of defiance. This is like, I can't breathe in this damn thing. That's what this is.
We
You
had
know?
some defiance. We had a couple of people doing that nonsense.
Right. Well, yeah, I've watched the news. Apparently, there's been some hijinks. But I tell you what, I loved when I was there, when we drove around and we did the radio, and I went to the Saturday market.
Yeah.
First, I was very Portland. I rented a bike, and it was very Portland because it was I think it had 2 different tires on it. There was there was some blood, wasn't mine. Don't know if it was the last rider or someone who tried to take the thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. It had a gear. So I rode to Dutch Brothers and I got tweaked up, and that's some good ass coffee. I never had Dutch Brothers coffee, so I was a little tweaky. And I rode to the Saturday market.
Early ready to go.
Oh yeah, I was looking forward to it. I rode to the Saturday market, and there's a lot of tie-dye. There's a lot of woodcraft. Guy looking, and a lot of people staring at you, like the vendors were staring at you with the wood burner dude. It was just like, I was born here. And you could see he's like burning his skin into the wood and he's not feeling it. I'm like, all right, I don't need a birdhouse from you, brother, man. See ya.
I don't even know when that shit's going to happen again. Portland is I know you haven't been here in a while. Portland is so not Portland anymore.
Really?
I mean, because we had all the protesting for so long that people think it was like, I don't know, in Terminator 2 when the robots were stepping on the skulls and coming on people thought Portland was out of control.
Yeah.
And so we had a lot of
people had that in New York City. Here's the evolution where I grew up on Long Island. So my great grandmother had a brownstone in the city. They sold it. The exit. They moved out to Long Island to the suburbs for the better life. So my family couldn't wait to get out of the city. My mom and dad, and I couldn't wait to get back in. I still got an apartment in New York, and it was like, ooh, the city. There's dinosaurs, and there's alligators in the sewer. Stop it.
Oh my god.
You know what there is? There's high real estate value in the city because I'm fucking paying for it, but you pay for the city, and I'm a better comic in New York. That's because I can do 5-6 sets a night.
Right.
You
still living in LA then, or
what?
You still living in LA right now?
I'm in my house. I'm in a house in Santa Monica. And I still got the apartment down by the Village. And one of the criteria when I bought the apartment was I was next to Amsterdam Billiards, so I could shoot pool and I could walk to the cellar. Those were the 2 things. I said, I'm not getting on a friggin' subway. I want to be able to walk to the cellar.
Yeah, that's the life right there.
Yeah.
Are you working out at all now? Are you able to do? Because LA's like closed down for a second.
Shut down. I mean, I got a couple of Heliums coming up. As a matter of fact, I'll plug them. I got Philly. I'm going to the big board right now. And I'm looking forward to it. I had St. Louis for New Year's, but it got pushed.
Yeah.
So, but I got Philly February 25th through the 27th, and then I got St. Louis the 4th through the 6th. Both of them, I'm going to give them what's the top rating for the Heliums? A 7 is Philly gets a 7.
We'll get there. We'll get there.
Oh, we're not get there. I'm sorry. My ADD is raging, Nick. I'm sorry.
Oh. I guess we'll start the podcast officially. So this is Center Stage.
Okay, all this other stuff was bullshit. Hi.
I mean, I'm not the best host. They forced me to host it. It doesn't mean I'm good at it. But we're here with Adam Ferrara. He's a hilarious fucking comic. He has his podcast we were talking about, been out about a year. Check that. You have It's Scary in here on iTunes. And then you've been an actor in everything anyone can ever think of. Like, you're an all-around amazing entertainer.
Yeah, oh, thank you, my friend. Yeah, what do I got coming? I got my podcast called The Adam Ferrara Podcast. 30 minutes, you'll never get back. I don't know, when is this going to drop, Nick? Do you know?
I have no idea.
You have no idea. Okay, so
this podcast will still be around.
It'll still be around. I just wanted to plug a guest. If you're into Dexter, they're doing a reboot on Showtime, and Clyde Phillips, the guy as showrunner and the guy in charge of it, we also ran Nurse Jackie, which was another show I was on. He's my guest this week. I have Emily Wickersham, which we said before, from NCIS coming up. Who have I had on? Nathan Lane, the guys from Top Gear, Tanner Faust, Rutledge Wood, and bunch of people have been on there. Kevin Nealon, like we said before. So go back and take a look. And it's not just comics and actors and stuff. I had on an FBI profiler who worked on the Bundy case. Yeah. Oh, that was creepy. Nick, I'm pretty sure Bundy did it after talking to this dude. So yeah, he was on. Yeah, I had on. There was, if you're into, because I got into this true crime thing. So I had on Susan Mustafa, who wrote the book about the Zodiac Killer, who had the 4-part miniseries on FX called The Most Dangerous Animal of All. This was a fucking wild story. So I'm watching it because that's the great white whale for true crime is the Zodiac, right?
Right.
So I'm watching this thing, and I wanted to talk to the author of the book. The author of the book was a guy who was adopted and thought that his father was the Zodiac killer because of what his mother told him. So halfway through this, he has this big manuscript. He gets it to Susan Mustafa, who was my guest and a true crime writer. And they sold this idea. She bought it. They sold the idea to FX, and FX is doing the 4-part series. In doing the discovery, they found holes in this guy's story. So the last episode is them confronting them with, "Hey, this doesn't line up. Can you explain this?" And the guy held on. The guy's like, "I don't know what you're talking about. It's my father. Nah. This is my world, my rules." And you could see Susan just fade because she realized, and she was so open and honest on the show. And I asked my manager, I said, "Can we get her?" And she answered right back, and she came on the show. So it's stuff like that on the show as well. I had Katie Coleman on, who was an astronaut. She lived in the space station. I'm pointing up like she's upstairs. She lived in the space station for 6 months. She went to, yeah. And she plays the flute. She's a flautist, and she was allowed to bring that into space. So she's playing the flute with Ian Anderson from Jethro Tull. She's doing a duet from space with the guy from Jethro Tull. And I realized in that moment, I've done nothing with my life.
Exactly what I was about to say. I'm going to just turn the computer off and just walk into the ocean, man.
3 specials, a couple of albums, been on some TV shows. That's it. This lady's orbiting and living in space, and I got thousands of notebooks full of dick jokes.
They're good dick jokes, though, I'm sure. This is a show mostly about comedy clubs. And you are a man who is well-versed in everything. Like I've had some of the best conversations with you about stuff from art to cars to music to you covering it all. So I'm very curious to what you thought a comedy club was before you've ever been in. Like, what is your first experience with a comedy club?
My first experience with a comedy club was a place called the East Side Comedy Club in Huntington, Long Island, which was right down the block from my house. So I saw it my whole life. It's not there now. I think it's a Pomodoro restaurant. But I saw it my whole life driving to and from Jericho Turnpike, which is where I grew up on Long Island. And for some reason, it always intrigued me because it wasn't a movie theater. It had a sign, and the names would change every week, and I didn't really know what it was. And then when I was a kid, Evening at the Improv was this weird show that wasn't on a regular channel because in New York, we didn't get it. You got it like when the game would be rained out, when the Met game would be rained out, and they had to put on content, they'd put on some dopey movie, or they would put that. I guess they own the rights to that. So they would put that on. And it was just a guy. It was some dude standing up against a brick wall, talking and laughing. So it was enchanting to me. And then I saw Richard Pryor. I went to one of those parties I was a kid, and my father did kitchens and bathrooms, and he would be in people's homes. You know, he was working in their homes. He would design it. He would come by and take care of everything. So it wasn't uncommon for us to actually be friends with the people that came to my father because, you know, you're in their house every day for months. So we got invited to the party. When it was done, they invited my father to finish this big kitchen and this big party to show off the kitchen to this guy's friends. And he invited us and the whole family. They had a pool. And it was one of those parties where you get the warning from your mother in the car. You know, you pull into the driveway and your mother turns around like, "Now your father does business with these people. Don't behave like animals and don't clog the toilet." Okay. So all the adults went downstairs and they were watching Richard Pryor, in concert. We weren't allowed in, you know, because of the language and stuff. So they went back up for coffee. I snuck in. I rewound the tape, and I was just mesmerized. I didn't know I wanted to be a comic. It wasn't like the seas parted. I said out loud to nobody, I'm like, "Look what this man can do." He didn't even get a fucking intro in that thing. He walked out, he grabbed the mic and just started talking.
People still walking in and shit.
Yeah. Look at it. White people upset that the black people stole his seats. He just starts riffing. And I was just mesmerized by what he could do. And I didn't know that I wanted to be a comic or I even could. I just knew that this was important. I remember thinking to myself, this is important. Yeah. So then when I found out that that's what they do with that building, I was intrigued. And I got out of college and I told my parents, "Well, we've done one of your things. Now we're going to try one of mine." And I signed up for an open mic.
To do that. That's smart.
Yeah. Signed up for an open mic. And I I made the mistake of telling my mother. See, Nick, my mother was the original Twitter. You'd say something to my mother, and she'd tell the whole friggin' neighborhood. And we grew up in this little community, so everybody knew everybody. So Adam's, all right, we'll go. And we sold it out on a Wednesday night.
They saw your first open mic?
Open mic, never been on stage before, and I know everybody in the friggin' audience. So I'm nervous, right? I went to the mall, and I bought one of the jackets, and I pushed the sleeves up because that's what the guys on TV did. I didn't know. I thought you got it. What the hell do I know? So I did the show, and I had these little jokes prepared, and I was going to try, but because I knew everybody, and they're not the quietest people in the world, Nick. You know, hey, Adam, shut up, Uncle Frank, I'm working. And I just started, for 5 minutes, I made fun of everybody, and I killed. And that was my first experience in a club. And then I went back, and you would just haunt the clubs. I would just go back and sit there. And they realized that, wait a minute, Adam's here every Thursday, and Wednesday and Thursday. He can do 10 minutes, and I don't have to pay him. So I got stage time.
Right.
And then when I found out that that's what an open mic was, I went in the phone book and called all the clubs on Long Island and started haunting open mics. And that's what I wanted to do. So my first introduction to comedy club was East Side Comedy Club. And then as I went to other open mics, I saw how they were run. I saw what was good, what was bad. The sound was good here. The sound wasn't bad there. You know, this host is going to be drunk by the fourth guy. So I'm going to go up early there because otherwise he's smashed. And then in between he goes long. So you learn all that stuff. And then when you go on the road, that's an entirely different experience too. Right. When you learn. So
going on the road, and I guess speaking of like what's good and what's bad, for you, walking into a club, first time you've never been there, what stuff that presents itself where you're like, okay, this is going to be a good weekend, or like this club is run?
At this point, you know, I've done most of them, and I know the ones I want to go back to, and I'm allowed to pick and choose. When you're first starting to do the road, what I looked for was the word comedy club in the name of the joint, because I was working bars and shit, and restaurants, and the Ground Round, and you know all kinds of the Steak and Sword. It was a restaurant. You're standing in a restaurant. But when the word comedy club was in the title of it, I went, oh, okay, there'll be a stage. I walked in, there was some joint in Connecticut, because I worked a great deal because I had a car. So I walked in one joint to Connecticut, and I went to the owner. I introduced myself, and I'm like, what time does the show start? He spit on the floor, on his own floor. He went, as soon as you turn around and start talking. I'm like, I'm sorry, is this a bad time? You asked me to come here. I don't need this, right? So that's the first thing I look for when I started. That, and if the bar is in the showroom, it's going to suck because someone's going to order a fucking blender drink, and you're going to have this. And the wait staff, too. If it's not a comedy club, the wait staff doesn't really know if the bar is in the room. I don't even know it was there anymore. The first club I ever headlined was the Thorogood Inn in Virginia Beach. There was a stage area. There was a tier up here, and then there was a bar up there. It was in the room, but it wasn't, you know, you could get away with it. Right. Until one of the servers came up, and I guess maybe she was deaf. I don't know. She was talking aloud, just going, the friggin' guy at table 6 wants a Harvey Wallbanger. What the fuck is that? I mean.
Yeah. I mean, for me, a perfect room would be soundproof.
Yeah.
You know, it would be like at a play where there's no reentry. You just sit your ass there. And like, for me, anything going on outside, especially a bar or servers, you know, not giving a fuck about the show, drives me.
Servers know. I will tell you this, the thing that your room, the Portland room, you have it's set up nice. It's almost like almost angled a little bit.
Yeah.
Tables are pitched a little bit. The entry for the stage is right. The side entry is great. I don't have to walk up through the crowd. The sound is really good. The seating is good, and the servers know how to serve. The servers know that they're in the front row. They're going to bend like this. I always look for the first night. I usually come in. I'd rather do a Thursday than a Sunday if I'm doing 3 nights, because a Thursday, if they like me, if someone really likes me who doesn't know me, I'll see the same people on the Saturday with more people.
Right.
You know, if you do the Sunday, you know, especially during football season, I got shit to do, brother. So that always, I would do the Thursday, and the Thursday night I would look, and one of the greatest compliments, and I tell all the comics going out there, I go, watch the servers on a Thursday night. If they're standing in the back and they're laughing, you're doing good.
Right.
Servers,
have
They
a
see it
wall.
every fucking week.
We have a wall too, right? Before you walk into the kitchen, if you see 3 or 4 employees standing there, you're like, you're winning.
Yeah, that's it. And I always look for it, and I always and then here's the two things I know when that happens. One, it's a nice ego thing for me because I know what that means to be in that job. Two, these people have taken the time. They see it every week. And this is it's going to be a good week for them. If they're still standing there watching me, that means they're interested in what I'm doing as an artist. Now I'm a guest in your house. So I'm going to be respectful. I'm going to tip well. I'm going to make sure everyone's okay. I always go up after the show and ask the service, did they tip you good? I always plug them at the end, say they tip you good. My whole thing is it's like the director on a show, on a TV show, Rescue Me, Nurse Jackie, the shows I've been on. The director changes every week. The cast is always there. The director's the one that's always new. So when I come in, plus, Nick, my name's on the fucking sign. I want everybody to have a good time. Let's spread some love, you know?
Yeah.
So yeah, that's what I like to, and the servers know, you know a server when they come to the green room, they introduce themselves. I always introduce myself. You want to eat now? You want me to bring it to you in between? You know, they know, we've done this every fucking week.
Well, I can't even tell you how many times I've had to remind servers, like, if you don't like a comic, be quiet. Because there's so many times when people walking around the corner, you're like, this fucking it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, it's very obvious.
How long is this hack doing the Sunday? Can I get that Harvey Wallbanger, please?
I think the one thing I love about a comedy club staff, is there's no gray area. Either they are loving a comic or they're hating a comic, and either way. Yeah,
and there's always, Indianapolis is that way too. The indie room, the Helium and Indian room, that staff I did that during this shit.
What's the response like? For me, here, kind of watching it, it was tepid. Like, we still had some pretty good comics, and it was good, but it was a darkness to the room that was around the whole time.
There was a darkness for me. I was just so happy to be out of the friggin' house, and to be back connecting to a live audience. There wasn't a darkness. There was an uncertainty in the air. And what I found when I was on stage was that a little bit of oasis from that feeling. I agree with you. I've experienced that feeling around things. But getting on stage, that was like, okay, listen, for an hour, we're in this for an hour. Don't worry about it. And I think that's what, it's not the comic's job, but it's something to be aware of when you go on stage. Is the first 30 seconds or the first 10, I'm not getting you to laugh. I'm getting, for those of you who don't know me, just seeing me first time, the job is to get you to trust me.
Right.
Trust me with your relax. Trust me. I'm gonna take you places. I'm a fuck with your emotions a little bit because I go a little deep and I come back up. But you want people to go, I didn't know you were going. It was so good when you got out of it. It's like when you talk about that stuff. But they'll trust me to take that ride for me. So that emotional, I want to establish artistic trust so you can relax and fully enjoy this. So I was able to achieve that, even though there was the uncertainty of the path to get to the club. Once the show started, that was still there for me. So that was cool.
So starting in New York, what's it like going out? Because I know, I don't want to talk bad about the East Coast, but I know you have this superiority thing where they're like, these clubs are the best. It doesn't get any better. Oh,
because it's true, Nick. The quicker you realize that, this will go a lot better.
I've been holding on for 8 years. I'm never letting it go. But what's that like as far as going out into the world and then doing comedy? Did you have to kind of change how you worked rooms, or were you able to kind of just be yourself?
I don't consciously remember having to change. And if I could just address the fact, it's not superior. It's putting a donut on the bat. And I'll tell you why New York is like that. Right. Because you're doing 5 minutes. You're doing there's 2 headline rooms in the city. If you're not doing the Beacon Theater or you're not doing a theater, you're doing Caroline's or you're doing Gotham. Those are the 2 headline rooms. Everything else is a showcase room. So you got 10 minutes, 15 minutes. It's New York City. Everyone is available. So any given night, you're following Chris Rock, you're following Seinfeld, you're following hitters, and you're thrown into the mix, and you got to get good quick or you ain't coming back. So the superiority is, look, when Jerry was shooting the movie Comedian, He bumped me 3 times in 1 week, twice at the Cellar, once at Gotham. He had a little cruise. I knew that the camera guy said hello, and he apologized. He goes, Adam, I'm sorry. I'm like, Jerry, this movie better be funny because right now it's just fucking annoying.
Right.
But that's why it's not the superiority. It's the fact that that's the environment that's the Serengeti you're running across. Yeah. You know, so if I'm following a white guy rapping in the middle, I'm not really going to panic that much on the road.
Wait, have you had white guys rapping?
Yeah, that's when you know. If there's a white guy rapping in the middle act, this was, this is a long time ago. You're at the Funny Bone in Des Moines. First of all, it's right by, I think it's the Quad Cities Funny Bone. There's a freight train that goes through your punchlines because you can hear the train. And yeah, and if I pulled that example out of just, I had to follow Seinfeld and Chris Rock a couple times. This is going to be a little bit easier. So I think that's where the perceived superiority vibe comes from. Plus, the other thing about New York is it's you guys and around the rest of the country, especially you. I actually noticed this. We were talking about it. Is you're saddled with civility. You're saddled with the burden of politeness. New York, that's all gone. It's unbridled psychosis in New York. I don't have time for pleasantries. There's 8 million people on a 26-mile island. I can't wave good morning. Someone's going to take my fucking cab. But Portland, there's an edge to you fuckers, all right? I don't want to hear oh, welcome, it's coffee, it's rain, artisanal cheese. No, fuck you. You guys have an edge, too. You just hide it better. You're not passive-aggressive. You're like aggressive-passive. One
of my favorite things, me and Dan Soda were getting coffee, and we were standing there waiting for it, and someone walked by us and goes, and we kind of, and they looked at us again and goes, and then squeezed us to put something in the trash. Where Dan was like, you could have just said, excuse me.
No.
I loved it because I was like, this is Portland, and this is how I am. 100%.
Yeah, it's all pads like this. It was like, you're going to huff and tisk me?
Instead of just be like, yeah, pardon me or excuse me.
And then they're going to look, this is the part I always like. Then if there's someone's with them, they're like, no, I'm not saying anything. I'm not, no. You know why? Because he should know. What he should know.
We have nothing but optimism, and we assume everybody knows everything.
Yeah, but I don't know if that's optimistic. It's just it's it's more lazy. Like, look, this is it's my world. You're living in it.
Yeah, figure it out. What actually? I don't know if I've ever asked you this, and it's an interesting question to me. Have you ever been in a club and had a staff member, like, speaking of people being like, this comic sucks, have you ever had a staff member maybe cross a boundary with you or cross the line or do something that was like, this is wild or unacceptable or anything like that?
Not to me personally. I've seen, there's been no malice of forethought, like, just doing this. I mean, I've seen people get drunk at work and then you don't see them again the next time. And when you're a young comic, you go, I don't think the club is, there used to be a Laugh Factory in Memphis years ago. Yeah, Jamie had one in Memphis. And I remember I was there and I got a call from a friend of mine. I'm not going to say his name, but he was a friend of mine who was on the road and he was at that club. And he got road burned because he stayed out too long. He just stayed out too long. So he called me before the show. He's like, dude, the show's in an hour. I got to get in the shower. I can't get up. So I just can't fucking do it. He goes, you got it up. So I talked him through. I said, you're going to get up and do it. And I'm like, what's the matter? I said, this isn't just he goes, I've been out too long. I said, and? Because you know when there's something more. He goes, yeah, I went home with a waitress last night. I go, which one? He goes, the one that'll go home with you.
Come on now.
Yeah, the one that goes home with you. Because, that's the only thing that's really in the club, and I don't think that's crossing a line. It's just two people hanging out.
Well, I think it happens. Like I am in a position where I have to not know about it, right? Like I can't know about it. But if it happens, it happens. I just don't know how often it happens in 2020 or 2021.
Again, I've been married so long, and I didn't do a lot of that when I was on the road. I was always of the mind of, I always heard my father's voice going, you don't shit where you eat, all right? Don't shit where you eat.
I think I'm glad I'm not a comic. I would shit everywhere I ate. Because if I'm there for 45 minutes. I'm there for an hour, and I'm out the door. If you like to come with me, feel free.
Right. Look at you. It's not me. It's my dick. It's not. Just don't hold me accountable.
I'm on vacation. My dick's out here working.
I'm one of the people. That's the little dictator. That's the one that gives me the marching orders.
Yeah,
that's what's out in front of me. It's looking around like a curb feeler.
All right, so we are now gonna rate the Heliums.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So again, 7 is what you give it if okay, everything's perfect. There's nothing I could change. 1 is that's the worst place I've ever been. I hope it doesn't exist anymore.
Copy.
Right. So we'll start with Philly because you're gonna be there soon.
7.
What makes it a 7?
What makes it a 7? It was 1. It's got everything I need. There's sushi next door. There's a way to enter from backstage. I like the room. You got to go downstairs. And I killed in that room the first night I ever played it. And I improv for 10 minutes on just the way you park in Philly because they don't give a shit. They'll park in the street. Fuck it, I'm gonna leave it here because Yeah. And I have this East Coast sensibility, and I had done that gig, and then I did the Tower Theater in Philly because we did the Rescue Me comedy tour, and people followed me there and followed me back, and I have a great time on the radio. Preston and Steve, MMR, John DeBella, everyone in Philly. I feel very close to Philly, so that's a 7. That's a club I look forward to going, and you can see me there February 25th through the 28th.
And then we'll go Buffalo.
Buffalo's a 6. I like Buffalo's, and it's got nothing to do with the club. It's got to do with the fucking cold. That's all. It's just cold.
I heard it's beautiful in the summer.
Yeah, okay, fine. And when you look on the schedule and I'm going there in February or January, that ain't summer. That and the first time I saw the club before I worked the club because we were shooting Top Gear and we were shooting up in Buffalo. We closed down the Skyway and I put a Jeep inside of a Boston Whaler and we put it on the lake and I was trying to get to Canada. So we shot right outside of Helium. It's got that cobblestone road outside there. So the cameras were rolling and everything. And I went, oh, I guess I'm doing that Helium soon. And I did. So it's only a 6 because of the cold, the weather.
Good enough reason. Bananas.
Bananas I did before it was a Helium. So I've been doing that club for years. That club's a 7 because I know everybody. Right. I know everybody. I've been doing the gig for years. And now it's in a hotel. It's a 4-wall joint. That club used to move because it was in this hotel. Then it was in the Holiday Inn. Then it was in the Radisson. That club is like a floating crap game. Oh, yeah. It was a floating crap game playing. You would get a call before you guys got it. Harlan and Arlene with a couple that owns it. So, you get the schedule. The agent calls up. But I say, yeah, of course I'll do it. It's home. It's Jersey. I know where it is. I'm waiting for the day they call you up going, all right, listen, it's in the back of a panel truck. We're going to pick you up at your apartment. We'll drive around for an hour. We pick up the audience. You make them laugh. We'll drop you off.
Yeah, we'll do it.
Yeah.
I had no idea it moved around. That seems...
It's settled now. It's in Hasbrook Heights now, but it used to be in Fort Lee. It used to be all over the place.
We'll go with St. Louis.
St. Louis, I got coming up. That's a 6. The audiences were great. A lot of the firefighters came out to see me because of Rescue Me. I like the green room. Now it's a 5. I'm knocking off 2 because we drive in. I'll tell you why. We drive into it's in a mall. You drive in, and you got to drive in like the bottom of the mall, which is really cool because it's like you're in the mall. You're in the bowels of the mall, but the dumpster. You park right by the dumpster, and there's that sweet, sour smell of garbage when you get out of the car because that's just the way the mall is situated. That's where the dumpsters are, and you go into the entrance, and then you got to walk through the entrance like the Goodfellas scene where you're going through the kitchen, and then they let you in there. And once you're in there, it's great. But you walk out to the club to take you home. You're like, all right, let's go. 5. So that's a 5 only because of the dumpster smell. And it's through no fault of the club. It's the construction of the mall.
There's only one club I care about having a high rating. We'll get to that in a minute. So if you gave all these ones, I'd be fine with it.
I understand. I'm justifying. Plus, I'm codependent too. I don't want to piss people off.
Okay, yeah. We'll go Indianapolis.
Indy's a 6. I just did it during the pandemic. Club was great. People were great. The only reason it's a 6 is because I didn't get to experience the full potential of the club because of the circumstances. But the people were great. They took great care of us. Everyone was working together, and the food was good. And you know what they did that was really cool? I'm on this wacky diet, so they boiled me some eggs and stuff because I could eat that stuff. So, and I forget the guy's name. Please excuse me, but one of the managers, I think, is a comic. I'm not. I don't think it was Indianapolis. I got to stop the story because I don't think it was. But
I was gonna say, no offense, but if the if the manager in Indianapolis is a comic, he's a horrible comic.
It's not the match. Someone that worked there was a comic and was very funny. So.
Oh, Cody's okay.
Was it Cody? System manager, yeah.
He could be very funny.
Yeah, he was funny in the green room, and then when I found out, and someone told me he's a comic, he's good.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Then we'll go with Portland.
Well, that's one of my favorites. I'm not just saying it's because you're here, and I'll tell you why. I like the vibe in Portland. I don't know what the connection is. I get it in San Francisco too. I have license to riff more. It's like, you know, you want your shit. You're going to get this, and you bang, 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 bang. And then once you get them, every comic knows you heat them up. You can play a little bit here, and then you got an escape hatch if you go into the audience to go into this bit, and then you watch where the check spot is. You know they're going to dip for 3 to 5, whatever that check spot is, and then you come back and you finish. It's just a basic mental structure you have. Those moments in Portland get bigger because I have more. I feel more open to riff and to create in Portland. I like the fact that you're above a weed store. That's just lovely.
They just added a tattoo shop too.
All right, I'll be in the weed store. When you're done, you come back, you show me what you got. Show me the butterfly on your ankle.
We got a bike shop, a weed shop, and a tattoo shop.
Yeah. I like the food. I like to walk around. I think we went downtown, didn't we?
We went
great tacos. I remember we had tacos.
We had that breakfast.
Yeah.
I think we went downtown and had that tacos.
Yeah, and there was a lot of radio. I remember I did a lot of radio and TV, and that always, I like doing that. I like, because it gives me more flavor of it gives me more to draw from when I go on stage. So that Portland, and the people are nice too. That's the thing about the Heliums. Everyone knows their shit. So
yeah, I think you have to.
Yeah.
And then lastly, Raleigh, which AKA
Raleigh was Good Nights.
Mm-hmm.
It used to be. I know it was Charlie Goodnights. Great room. I did New Year's there a while ago. It's got a brick wall and it's long. The room is long. I'm giving it a 6 only because the green room is really small.
Okay, so the green room you brought up twice.
Mm-hmm.
I obsess over mine. I want it to be perfect. What makes a good green room?
What makes a good green room? Places to sit, room for the other comics. The little refrigerator you guys have is nice. The bathroom is clean. That's like the bathroom's also far enough away, so if you're flushing it, you're not hearing it on stage. Access to the stage from the green room. You guys have it set up nice. I don't have to walk out through anything. I can come right out on stage. The food is really good, and I get to sign the refrigerator every time I'm there.
Okay, and then
and plugs. You guys have plugs in the right places. Every comic's going to put their phone in. And there's a plug here to plug it. Where you sit down, one of the things I noticed in the green room was you had the couch, you had the chair, and then the refrigerator was here. So you got the plug for the refrigerator, then you got a plug by the chair, and you got the plug by. So every comic when sit down could plug in and charge his phone, and not like, can we switch? You know?
Yeah, that's a new thing, because in the '90s it didn't matter at all, and it very much matters now.
Sure. And you get Wi-Fi in the green room too. That's another thing. Wi-Fi in the green room.
Yeah. For you, how important is play on the stage? Like, I think you're really good at riffing, but you're also really good with your material that you've hammered, worked, and crafted. Yeah. How much, for you to have like a perfect night, this is a great set, how much percentage is play, how much percentage is material? Well,
the good nights for me is, I always call it weaving, because I'm weaving in and out of the material and the riffing and the crowd work, because then it looks seamless. Right. I know the work I have to do. I'm not afraid to get off something if it connects to a piece of material. I'm making it up. I'm talking to somebody. Somebody says something about, I don't know, their mother. I got 9 mother jokes that can look seamless, that'll fit, that I've entered in doing that material with the emotional content and and topic of what I was talking about. So if I enter the material from another point of view with another attitude or emotion that we've established in the room, it opens everything up. And I always audio record everything because it opens everything. Because now I know where the laughs are, but I'm doing it in a different approach. And that, to me, that's when you're doing a movie, when you're doing a TV show and the director gives you a note, I need you to be a little more of this, or I want to see something here. It takes what you've learned and it puts it in a different context, and you discover more shit that you didn't know was there because you was doing the material the way you originally wrote it. Does that make any sense?
That makes all the sense. And I think the more it looks like a magic trick, the better for the audience. You know, like,
yeah, it's better for the audience and you. And when you can experience my goal to get on stage is to be in the state of becoming. Yeah. This is happening for the first time between us. That's why I like to riff. That's why I like to work the crowd and take pieces of the crowd and actually the people in the crowd become characters in the if they fit into a joke, because it looks like it's in the state of becoming. Any good actor, you know, the way I was trained was that's the state you want to achieve.
Yeah, I would pay a lot of money to be in my position to where I can watch 5 shows, 6 shows, and to see kind of how someone is putting things together and how they're taking this, taking that, and weaving it into something different, but the same every night.
Yeah, and there's different tricks, you know, that I not tricks, but different places to look for connecting pieces and different things. Like I'll change a tag. Like if I got to put 2 jokes together, I did a Corden show, and the producer of the set liked jokes that didn't go together in that, so I had to build a bridge. So it's usually done in the tag, and you don't get a lot of time to tag and play on TV because you got to get from bang, 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 and you got to get the close. So I always look for the tag to be a two-way tag, a tag and a connecting piece to get to the same bit. Right. And sometimes that happens in the audience if I'm going from one bit to another, but it doesn't have to be a quick joke. It can be a thought. So you can connect 2 different bits with a different thought in between.
I love it. It's for me, I guess you see enough comedy when you're in my position that seeing 1 hour isn't as exciting as seeing someone piece together the hour. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like knowing how the sausage is made to me is much more fun than just eating it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's the process of creation. And here's the other thing that makes it good. If you're working with somebody you like or someone that is funny, and you saw me in the green room. There's index cards, you know, there's all kinds of shit. And I'm muttering to myself and I'm wandering around because I really can't sit still. But if you're working with somebody that you like, or the middle act is really funny, the establishing energy of how you enter the room is important as well. And that can change how you begin your set, and that can change that section of your set as well.
Right, because if you have someone ahead of you who's, let's just say, a white rapper, you have to come in with like jokes right away, like, "Hey, remember what we're doing? Yeah. We're not messing around."
Or you have to reset the room. I mean, you enter at the level the energy the room is at, as a rule of thumb. But sometimes if it's all like, you know, someone blows the room up or is really dirty or something, you have to take focus, and you have to learn how to take focus.
Right.
And it's just it's a spidey sense, really.
Yeah. All right, so now we're going to go to a segment called Stories We've Heard About You. This is a story I heard about you. I'm going to tell you the story, and then I'll ask you a question pertaining to this story.
Okay.
All right. So I heard on New Year's Eve, the second show went long. The third show was only 30 minutes. And then you missed the countdown by 2 minutes.
What New Year's Eve? What club?
I believe it was Raleigh.
Second show went long.
Second show went long. So then the third show into the New Year's Eve, like it only was 30 minutes, and then you missed the countdown.
I missed the countdown.
Word on the street.
In Raleigh. We know what year this was?
I have no idea.
Was I supposed to do the countdown?
I don't know.
See, here's the thing. I don't think I was supposed to do the countdown because I know when I work New Year's Eve, I go, nobody wants to see me.
See that? So this was my question to that.
See me. You're damn right I was off because in that 2 minutes before midnight, they're like, we got to text the kids. I got to call my mother. I love you. I wish I was there to kiss. Here's the stage.
Like I understand why we have New Year's Eve shows, I hate it because the whole time, all the crowd is thinking about is midnight.
Yeah, that's all they want to do. And so here's the other thing. And let's give them noisemakers. Perfect. Let's arm the people in the audience.
I love it.
Think you're in the way.
Here at like 11:58, you start hearing like the anyway. So my question to that is, comedy clubs are often used as event spaces.
Right.
When is it too much, and when does it take away the art?
What, the event spaces?
Exactly. Like, so for me, New Year's Eve is one of my least favorite because there's no art exchanged in
when the balance of the audience has so many private parties that there's one private party that outweighs the rest of the audience. Now you're playing an away game.
Right.
You know, now because now they think it's their party and not they're in a public setting. So if the balance of the party outweighs the rest of the audience, that's when the dynamic of the room shifts.
What do you do when that happens?
It happens a lot around Christmas too, because people book their Christmas parties.
How do you deal with it? Because I've never, I don't know how to. Like it's a evil, but it's necessary to have these parties, right? I mean, it's a nice chunk of change. I don't know how to corral or contain.
Don't sit them all together.
Oh, that's a fight, my friend.
Well, don't sit. Listen, we have this. You tell them, look, how many in your party? I'm making up the numbers. There's 10. Okay, great. What I can do is I can give you tables of 4. So I can split up 4, 4, and 2. Tell them off the bat. You know, well, we all want to sit together. That's one thing. It's either going to work or it's not, but it's a device. You know.
Yeah, just to kind of move them around and
move them around
into the crowd,
so they can't congregate. Divide and conquer, Nick. And if you hire me for New Year's, I'm not going to be on stage for the countdown. I'm telling you right now.
If I had my way, I would have a clown, like a legitimate clown on stage.
I did the DC Improv one year, and I said, "What do you want to do?" And they said, "Well, let's let everyone kiss their people, come back, and then I'll come back up if you want." But for that moment, you know, it's not going to happen. For that moment, because it doesn't serve anybody.
Yeah. Oh, and I'm not doing after. Once it's 12:01, I
came back once. I forget what club I was at. I forget where I was, but I remember I came back. Everyone did their thing. Everyone got off stage, kissed everybody in the club, and he called it and it came back up. And then the MC went back up, and I came up for another thing. And I remember I just improv for about 5-10 minutes, and I said, "All right, what's going to be different this year?" And I went back. I forget I was working someone in the audience. Let's hope you do whatever it was, and that was it. It was a very nice time. They take pictures, and you go home.
How was that after? Because to me, that's almost like
it was fine because they got out what they wanted to get out. Like, you know, it was because I think there was another thing. It was the late show. It was the midnight thing, and it was after. And then they had a thing set up. Like they had some breakfast thing that was part of the thing set up. So they were eating outside too. Yeah.
That would drive. There's certain times like I hate Halloween because people come in with costumes and you're like, all right, stop. Like
stop.
Yeah.
Hey, Superman, knock it off. All right.
Or New Year's Eve drives me crazy. Valentine's Day drives me crazy.
Valentine's Day is easy. Valentine's Day I mean, for a comic, the hardest ones are not the hardest ones, but New Year's Eve is a pain in the ass. And that's why I think, and nobody wants to be on stage. So New Year's Eve, I would agree with you. And again, if the balance of around Christmas time, they have their office parties. Bachelor parties are bad. Actually, bachelorette parties are bad. Because if
I could ban them, I can't. I started to get to the point where I'm like, take the sash off. If you want to come in with sashes, not coming in.
No sashes. Look, you can keep the dick straws. And, you know, and don't use those condoms because you stapled them to the bride so they got holes in them. I'm telling you right now.
I think for me, the longer I've been in it, the more I become less forgiving of taking away from the stand-up.
Yeah. Well, first of all, thank you on behalf of a stand-up. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for setting the conditions for us to have the best shot to do our job. That's
Well, and the better you do your job, the better it is for the crowd. You know, believe it or not.
Yeah, but you're also beholden on the comic too to give back as well. It's like I know guys like, fuck, I gotta do this meet and greet. I told them I was going to be here. I started this shit. How could I not go out? I asked you to come.
Right.
How did they find me? Well, they read your tweet, you dope.
Yeah, you were on the radio all morning. It was very.
You're banging a drum to get people here, and now you're pissed they're here.
All right. So the last thing we're gonna do is a game of I Bet You Never. So it's basically never have I ever. We'll have 3 fingers up. I'm gonna try to guess something that you have not experienced at a comedy club that I have.
Okay, good.
And then you're a busy person, so we'll wrap it up and we'll get you out of here.
Copy you.
All right. So do you want to go first or do you want me to go first?
So I got to ask you, did you ever?
Yeah. And then I'll be asking you.
All right, you go first.
Okay. So I'm going to bet that you have never, I'll bet you've never played video games in a comedy club.
I think you're right.
Because I've been doing it for weeks.
I think you're right. Really? Well, yeah, but is this COVID video or when you're working and shit?
Oh, no. So while we were working, there'd be 10 people in the crowd and, play a video game in the kitchen or something.
All right.
So that would leave you with 2 fingers, and now it's on you to get me out.
It's on me to get you. All right. All right. I bet you never.
Look.
I bet you never wrote a new joke in the morning and had it kill on a 3rd show Saturday.
What was the joke?
It doesn't matter what the joke is. Have you ever wrote a joke in the morning?
No, I have not. I'm curious at how. So you worked at the first 2 shows and then killed it on the 3rd?
Killed it on the 3rd. Yeah, and the hardest thing is the fucking 3rd show Saturday. I think it was the Works. It was years ago when I was a kid at the Comedy Works. They used to have 3. Was it Comedy? No, it was the Cleveland Improv. They used to have a midnight show at the Cleveland Improv. Yeah, and there was a 3rd show. It was a 3rd show, and I wrote this joke, and I didn't give up. I'm like, and it killed. And I was like, yeah.
Oh, that 3rd show was tough.
Yeah, 3rd show was tough, and the joke killed.
All right, so I'm gonna bet that you have never had to physically restrain somebody in the crowd.
No, but I got 2 stories.
Feel free.
One, I was at this little club when we first started, and we were doing improv on stage, and there was another comic on stage. I was a kid, another famous dude. Right? I'm not using his name. Famous dude on stage, and he wasn't famous then. He is now, right? And he said something, and there was a drunk guy in the audience and started coming up, and we didn't do anything, and I was like. I grabbed the mic stand because I'm just this little guy.
Yeah.
But I was like, oh, hell no. I'm burying this weighted boat right in the... And I grabbed the mic stand and I just stepped over with the mic stand. And it stopped the guy from approaching, and then the bouncer got him. So I didn't do anything. I just held this shit up for the big guys to come in. So yeah, I never did that. And one of my favorite stories was I was on stage. It was a DC Improv again. I was on stage at DC Improv, drunk person. And Nick, man, I'm 55 minutes in on the Late Show. We're in the home stretch. I'm tip your wait staff. I'm right there. We're almost out of this motherfucker. And this just disrupting. You know they're bad when the audience is turning on them. I don't have to do anything anymore. I just got to wrap this shit up and let's get out of here. Right? I look in the back and I see in reflector tape, I see the cops because they had the DC cops have reflector tape. So I saw the reflector tape. I go, all I got to do is just keep dancing until that reflector tape gets closer and closer and closer. And now I can't get off stage because the cops picking them up, walking them out. I can't stop because the audience will stop. I got to keep pulling focus this way. And I got to work the scene on the way out because I got to keep the people sitting so the cops could get everybody out. No one told me to do this, but I just instinctually knew that. Yeah. So I was going to bail. So yeah, so I had to work that scene too. So those are the two. Those are the 2 instances, but I've never had to physically restrain anybody. I got one for you.
Go ahead.
Have you ever worked hungover?
No, I've never come to the club hungover.
Okay.
Have you?
Yeah.
Is it, for me, I think it'd be an easier job. I mean, who gives a fuck? Not at all.
You got no saliva in your mouth. Your head hurts. You're not animated. When someone gives you something in the audience where you can riff on, the little riffing muscle goes, yeah, and the rest of you goes, oh, I'll be here.
Yeah, I'm not. No. We're going back to what I was saying. So what's that put us in? I think I have one. You're 1-1, I think, right? Like I have one finger left. You have one finger left?
All right.
I think. So basically, next person to get something that the other person hasn't done wins the game.
Copy you.
Or whatever. It's all made up anyway.
I don't think anyone's really keeping track, but.
So I'm going to bet that you have never. Actually, I'll bet that you have never bought pizza for a comedy club staff.
Bought pizza for a comedy club staff? No, but I bought drinks for them.
Okay, that's just as good. I wanted to highlight how nice and generous you are.
Oh yeah, and but I bought drinks because yeah, I've done that a couple times. You know, if I get if I get good news, I got a movie when I was on the road. I got work when I was on the road. If I get good news, you know, hey, we're celebrating. Adam got a job.
Great.
You know? Or if somebody got, you know, someone, if it's a club I know, and someone's celebrating something, come on, line them up.
I got this from the producers. So last question I'm gonna ask you, and then we'll get you out of here.
Mm-hmm.
Have you ever had a customer hit on you in a ridiculous way? Now I can say my story. I was trying to kick a lady out once, and she wouldn't listen because she was trying to get me to move to LA to model. It was the worst experience I've ever. Like where you're like, hey, you need to shut up. She's like, you need to follow me, and you're like,
listen, I'm an agent, okay? And you have such an interesting look. You're not living up to your full potential. Can I?
Yeah, and I'm sitting here like, hey, I need you to get up. And people are looking like, get her the hell out. I'm like, I'm trying. Not working for me.
Yeah.
But you're a handsome lad. Have you ever had to run across anything?
Oh, I'm no model like Nick.
And she was very drunk. Very drunk.
Yeah, that's usually the way it happens. I had a lady grab my ass at a meet and greet with my wife standing next to me.
Oh, bold.
Bold. I had to hold my wife back. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Adam, thank you so much for doing this, man. It was
see you, brother.
It was just nice to see you. You told me about Caravaggio. You're a great dude.
Oh yeah, we spoke about Caravaggio when he thought he was going to get out of getting killed. Look, I painted a picture of me cutting my whole head off. Can I go? No, you can't. Yeah, we had fun. We're rolling around in what I thought was a Jeep Cherokee.
No, it was a GMC Sonoma.
Okay. Yeah, we talked about make my funk to P-Funk.
Oh, got to get funked up.
Yeah, and we were talking about art, and we had a good time. I want to come back. I like your club, and I like the people there, and I hopefully our paths will cross soon, my brother. You be well. I ain't come back on New Year's. No one wants to see me on stage.
I'm gonna force you to do the ball drop on New Year's. Lastly, before you dip, anything else you want to plug?
Podcast, yeah, for our podcast, 30 minutes you'll never get back, wherever you get your podcast. I have an episode of NCIS coming, but I don't know when it is. And Dogs Playing Poker on Fox. We did it for the I don't know what that is either. All right. So and come see me at I'll plug the Helium. Helium in Philadelphia. I will be there February 25th through the 27th. And Helium in St. Louis, I will be there March 4th through the 6th. They are both top-rated clubs in my little Helium voting.
Yeah, and if you're watching this, you understand the internet, follow Adam, see what he's up to. Yep. Peace, man. Have a wonderful day. Thank you.